guys, it's Chase again. I just wanted to continue to talk about the Alabama uh, Senate special election that'll be taking place on December 12th. This video was going to be about turnout expectations and what we think is going to be the total number of, or an estimate of the total number of voters in this election. It's going to be hard to pin down because it's such a strange occurrence, because a special election, you never know what kind of turnout to expect. Usually the highest turnout will be during a presidential election year, such as 2016 and 2012 and so on. And then from there, we always know midterm elections, like in 2014, and the upcoming elections in 2018 will be slightly lower, just because of the presidential election always turns out more voters. That being said, though, usually midterms are dominated by one party or the other, and it seems to me why I believe Doug Jones is going to have such a difficult time winning this election is because usually those that turn out in a state, usually a state will be red or blue, sometimes purple, but Alabama being such a generally conservative state is going to have a lot more registered Republicans that will turn out to the polls. That being said, exception is possibly the only thing that I can think of that Jones could be hoping to count on is that Moore's voters don't show up. So I honestly don't think there's going to be a ton of crossover for a Republican to vote for Jones. I just think that they'll either write in somebody like Luther Strange or some random name rather than cross over and vote for Jones. So I'm thinking Jones and their team already know that, so they're just hoping that Moore's numbers are so depressed that Jones could possibly sneak a win with turning out his voters in generally Democratic areas of Alabama. Went over some of the numbers for the Senate elections in the past in this state. And again, what I mentioned before with the turnout being higher in a presidential year follows the numbers to the T. Last year, I'm guessing because of Trump's candidacy, there was over 2 million that turned out to vote for the Senate election. I did also only count Democrats and Republicans in this. There are a few thousand votes here and there for write-ins or maybe even a libertarian candidacy or another third party over the years. So there's a few thousand votes here and there that will come into play, but I only counted the big numbers in terms of Democrats and Republicans voting. So last year was over 2 million, almost 2.1 million voted in the Senate election between, I believe it was Richard Shelby, and I cannot remember the Democrat for the life of me right now. But that's a high count. 2014 was low because Jeff Sessions ran unopposed, so there was only 800,000 votes for him, and then there was a few write-in votes. From there, it follows a similar pattern. You had about 1.5 million in 2010, that being a midterm, and then 2008, during a presidential year, over 2 million again. And then from there follows the same pattern. 2004, another presidential year, almost 2 million, about 1.8 million. And then from there, 2002, in 1998, there were Senate elections taking place. Those are both off midterm years. So 1998 had just under 1.3 million, and 2002 had a little bit over 1.3 million. So with this, though, it's hard to gauge how big the turnout's going to be because usually, like I just mentioned, you're going to have the high turnout in the presidential year, and then you're going to have the lower turnout in the midterm. But this is even stranger because this is in an off year altogether. So this is a special election. On the other side of that, so you're thinking, with that logic, you're thinking that it's going to be lower than a midterm. But with this being such a publicized race now because of the allegations against Roy Moore and it being caught by the national media, the voters in Alabama either are against Moore or have possibly hardened, the people who support him have possibly hardened their position and believe that the media, as Moore is putting it, that the media in Washington and across the country have come and tried to hijack the race and hope that they can pin Moore down on these allegations and that Jones could possibly win in a state where a Democrat just doesn't win at all. So with that, I'm trying to estimate how much turnout there is going to be. I'm guessing we're probably going to be, I think there's going to be over a million votes cast, and I'm tending to think it's probably going to be, obviously I think a general estimate would be put it at between 1 million and 1.5 million. I know that's a big spread, but somewhere in there, and I'm guessing probably 1.25 million. It's going to be just under a normal midterm. I'm thinking that the media attention is going to drive the voter interest and the turnout. You're going to have a lot of Democrats who are seizing an opportunity and thinking, okay, we've never had a chance in any of these races in this state for so long that maybe this is our opportunity to win. And then you have Republicans on the other side who will either A, be more supporters, steadfast, hardcore Moore supporters, and will be fully entrenched and be further emboldened by the media attention against their candidate that they're going to go out and vote anyway and hope to swell the numbers and gather others to fight against what they're believing is a media attack on their candidate. Or you'll have Republicans who have been turned off by the supposed allegations and will vote anyway, but will probably vote in for a write-in. I'm thinking maybe you could see a lot of write-in votes for Luther Strange or another candidate, and that's going to keep the numbers up, but not figure into the obviously into the final result in terms of who will win between Sessions and Jones, or I'm sorry, between Moore and Jones. So the total registered voters in Alabama is actually an odd thing that I've come across. Last year, before the election, the Secretary of State, who I'm forgetting, John Merrill, came out with a post or an announcement that there's 3.3 million registered voters in Alabama. That's 99.9% registration rate of eligible voters. That's unfathomable. That's crazy, and I'm guessing that's a huge exaggeration and probably way off from what is actually true. I believe I read that the best registration rate in the country is in Maine, and they have 76% registered of eligible voters. So the numbers are all over the place, but I just looking into it, that was odd. And I actually came across an article from Alabama.com, which was pointing out this number because I think it caught them by surprise, and they're guessing that that's just probably not even close to being true, and it's very interesting. So I'm tending to think that there's probably closer to like 2.5 million registered voters, maybe. I don't see that number being accurate. So that being said, I mean the turnout. If we were gonna put the turnout against, if we were gonna put the turnout last year in the presidential election against that number, that would have been like a 67% turnout, I believe. If I did the numbers correctly, somewhere in the 60s. So that's a decent turnout. It's well above national average. So I'm guessing that's probably not the case. That the turnout is probably more like 50%, 55%. I think. I think that was probably what the presidential election turnout percentage was last year. 50 to 55% of eligible voters or registered voters voted. So, those numbers seem to be a little inflated. Obviously, we're not going to see those kinds of numbers, and I don't think you're going to see even anywhere near even a normal midterm election. What I was saying. So the turnout for me, I guess what I'm probably going to guess is probably around 1.2 million will turn out to vote in the Senate special. I think if there hadn't been any of this publicized media attention, and it looked like Moore was going to run away with the race anyway, I don't think you might not even hit a million turning out in this race. So I mean, I could be way off on that. So I guess my final thought on that would be that I'm probably guessing around 1.2 million voters will turn out to vote in this Senate special. And I guess it's Jones's hope that he could somewhere pull around 650 or 6 to 650 in that case. A lot of the times that you saw the Republican win in the midterms, they were polling around 800 to 900,000 votes, sometimes close to 1 million. So you're going to hope that Moore has a depressed turnout and that Jones has a higher turnout, obviously in the areas that will favor him, college campuses and so on, and that he can run neck and neck with Moore in like Mobile County, and hope that those more populous areas where Republicans win, or populous counties where Republicans win, he can hold, he can stay, above water, or hold close to Moore, and hope that the rural areas, which happens in most states and all of the country during any kind of election, that the rural areas don't turn out, or if they do turn out, they don't vote for Moore, they write in somebody, or they don't vote at the top of the ballot. I mean, I'm not 100% sure if there's anything else going to be on the ballot. I'm guessing there's probably not going to be. So it's either they turn out and vote for Moore, they turn out and vote for somebody else, either Jones, or in probably the most likely case, if they don't vote for Moore or if they don't vote for Moore and they're Republican, they're probably going to write somebody in, and then or they just don't turn out at all. So Jones is going to have to hope that happens a lot over the whole course, a lot of the rural areas in the state. So, my numbers could be completely off. I'm guessing right now, because you just don't know how to gauge or particularly understand how much the media attention is going to drive up the turnout against what a normal turnout would be. A Senate special election, it's just difficult because it's such a strange occurrence and it doesn't happen a whole lot. Most people don't vote in elections at all, rather than a midterm or, in this case, a Senate special. So I'm going to include the link on that Alabama.com article. It's very interesting, and you can make up your own mind for your own that Alabama has a 99.9 registration rate. That's unfathomable. It's not likely at all. But I'll include that in the description. Please like, comment, or subscribe to the channel, and I will be continuing this round of videos with more on the Alabama Senate special election. Thank you.